Cold homes once faced a problem that modern people rarely think about until it's too late: mold. Long before central heating, dehumidifiers, or drywall, families lived through winters in stone cottages, log cabins, farmhouses, and tenements where moisture could quietly destroy food stores, rot beams, and make people sick. Yet widespread mold infestations were not inevitable. There was a deliberate winter air practice used across Europe, North America, and parts of Asia that kept homes drier, healthier, and more stable. It relied on understanding air, temperature, and timing, not technology. This knowledge is still practical today for anyone living off-grid, heating with wood, or managing older structures. Cold winter air was deliberately used as a drying tool inside the home. The central principle was simple and well understood, even if not written down in scientific terms. Cold winter air holds far less moisture than warm air. When brought indoors and gently warmed, it becomes extremely dry. Households intentionally cycled outdoor air through their homes during winter to purge moisture that accumulated from cooking, breathing, washing, and stored goods. This was not accidental ventilation from leaky buildings. It was purposeful, controlled air exchange done daily or weekly depending on weather. Windows were opened briefly, even during freezing temperatures. Doors were cracked too. Smoke holes, roof vents, and chimney dampers were adjusted to increase draw. The goal here wasn't warmth, but dryness. Homes might lose heat for 10 or 15 minutes, but they gained something more important: a sharp drop in indoor humidity that mold just couldn't tolerate. You can actually apply this today by opening windows on opposite sides of a house for a short cross-ventilation cycle, especially during cold, dry days. Even just 10 minutes can drastically reduce moisture without really chilling the structure itself. This works especially well in winter, when outside humidity is low, even if those temperatures are near freezing. Fireplaces and stoves were managed to pull damp air out, not just heat rooms. A burning fire creates a strong upward draft that continuously pulls indoor air out through the chimney. That outgoing air had to be replaced, and replacement air came in through cracks, vents, and deliberately opened windows. This constant movement prevented stagnant, damp pockets from forming inside walls, under floors, or up in ceiling spaces. Folks back then understood that a smoldering fire was actually worse than a hot one. Low, smoky fires, would reduce the draft and trap moisture inside the house. That's why, honestly, morning and evening fires were often burned hotter than what was strictly needed. Dry heat, along with good airflow, mattered more than just comfort. In cabins and farmhouses, fires were sometimes lit even on milder winter days, mainly just to dry out the house after cooking, washing, or storms. Modern wood stove users, they can use this same logic. Running a stove hot for a short period, while briefly letting in some fresh outdoor air, will dry out a home way more effectively than running a stove low all day with the windows sealed up tight. Interior layouts were really designed to let air move through the entire structure. Doors would line up with one another, and stairwells acted as vertical air channels. Upper windows or vents allowed warm, moist air to escape, while drawing in cold, dry air down at ground level. Even the way folks placed their furniture mattered. Heavy cupboards and beds were often pulled just a little bit away from the exterior walls to keep moisture and condensation from getting trapped back there. Back in the day, basements and cellars were actually ventilated during winter, not sealed up tight. Cold air was let in to circulate through storage areas, and this was done on purpose to keep mold off root vegetables, cured meats, and even wooden shelving. If you close these spaces up completely, it would just trap moisture and, cause all sorts of spoilage. Funny thing is, nowadays, folks sometimes make the same mistake by sealing basements and storage rooms too tightly, not realizing they're just inviting mold. Taking a page from history means, allowing some controlled winter ventilation in these areas instead of keeping them sealed all the time. Just a brief cold air exchange here and there can really help preserve your wood, your food, and the structure itself. People used to time their moisture-producing activities around when they could ventilate. Laundry, bathing, brewing, and heavy cooking weren't just done whenever. These things were usually followed right away by some good ventilation. After washing clothes, they'd open the windows. Doors got cracked open after boiling food. Chimneys were opened wide after rendering fat or brewing beer. This kind of sequencing kept moisture from hanging around long enough to soak into the walls or timbers. The mistake a lot of modern households make is, creating moisture without thinking about how to get rid of it. Running a shower, cooking up soups, or drying clothes inside without any real ventilation, that's just recreating the same mold-friendly conditions that older homes worked so hard to avoid. Building materials back then, they really worked with the winter air trick, not against it. Stuff like lime plaster, solid wood, stone, and brick, they were all breathable materials. They'd soak up a little moisture and then let it go when the air changed. The winter air trick only worked because these materials could dry out pretty quick once the humidity dropped. When cold, dry air came in and fires warmed things up, the walls and beams would release that stored moisture right back into the air, and then it all got pulled out through chimneys and vents. Pretty clever, if you ask me. Modern synthetic materials often trap moisture instead of releasing it. This is why, older techniques are most effective in historic homes or off-grid structures built with natural materials. That said, even modern homes benefit from controlled winter ventilation when humidity spikes. If you live in an older house, avoiding vapor-sealed renovations and instead embracing breathable finishes can restore this natural drying cycle. The key difference between historical practice and modern habits is discipline. Folks accepted brief discomfort as part of winter survival. Cold air inside the house for 10 minutes was preferable to rotten beams, spoiled food, or illness. This mindset is largely gone today, replaced by constant temperature control and sealed interiors. For preppers, homesteaders, and anyone planning for grid-down scenarios, this knowledge is critical. Without electric dehumidifiers or forced air systems, winter air becomes your most reliable mold control resource. Knowing when and how to use it can preserve shelters, supplies, and health. Understanding how winter air was used intentionally changes how we view old homes. They were not primitive or careless. They were managed systems based on observation and experience. Relearning these practices adds resilience to modern life and accuracy to historical interpretation. If you heat with wood, live in a cold climate, store food long-term, or maintain an older structure, this technique is not optional knowledge. It is foundational. Controlled winter ventilation is one of the simplest, most reliable mold prevention strategies ever used, and it requires nothing but awareness and timing. If this kind of practical historical knowledge matters to you, go ahead and subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles. Share this with others who care about real skills from the past and keep these techniques alive. History isn't just something we study, it's something we can still use.